Fibonacci numbers and the golden ratio. Firstly, what are Fibonacci numbers? The Fibonacci numbers are a series of numbers in which each number is the sum of its two preceding numbers. The list goes as following: 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, and 89. How does this relate to the golden ratio? Well, the golden ratio is 1.618. That is its most simple form. And when dividing the Fibonacci numbers, the further down the list of Fibonacci numbers you go, you get closer to the true number of the golden ratio. This true number is called phi. When first looking at the set of Fibonacci numbers, one might wonder, why are there two ones? Well, an easy way to think of it is, the original one is the starting space, and the second one is 1 plus the previous number, 0. Fibonacci numbers are numbers that are, strangely enough, seen in nature quite often. One popular example is the pine cone. Counting the spirals on a pine cone, one direction has 8 spirals and the other has 13, which are both back-to-back Fibonacci numbers. This also leads into the golden ratio. The golden ratio can be seen in a multitude of animals. For example, the shell of a nautilus, the horns on a ram, the way a peregrine falcon dives, and even this capybara. That last one might be a bit of a stretch, but the point still stands. The golden ratio is often seen in nature, and even strangely enough, it can be found in non-living things, such as the spiral of a hurricane, or even the shape of the galaxy itself. There's one recurring image in this video that has showed up, which is a rectangle with a spiral inside of it. You might be wondering, how do you get such a rectangle? A good place to start is on a grid. First, start by making a 1x1 square. Right next to that square, add another 1x1 square. Below that structure, add a 2x2 square. Then add a 3x3 to the left of it. On top of that structure, add a 5x5 square. This can be continued infinitely using the Fibonacci numbers. You can then create a golden spiral by making a curved line that hits each of the corners, starting from the biggest square spiraling in towards the smaller squares. And now you have created a golden rectangle with the golden spiral inside of it. There are two main aspects in the golden ratio that can be found: good and beauty. The good applies more towards nature. Goodness in this case means more useful towards the animal or plant. One such example being in which the way the peregrine falcon dives. The reason why falcons dive in the golden spiral is because their eyes are on the side of their head. Because of this, diving straight down would not be beneficial to the falcon. Rather, diving in the spiral allows for them to keep their eyes on the prey without turning their head. The attribute of goodness also applies to plants as well. One example being in the sunflower. The way in which the golden spiral appears in the sunflower is in order for it to maximize the space on the surface to allow for the most amount of seeds to grow, allowing the sunflower to be able to produce offspring a lot easier. As previously stated, these attributes of good are more towards usefulness towards the living being. This attribute of goodness allows for the plant or animal to guarantee its own survival. The next aspect of the golden ratio is beauty. Beauty can be found in both paintings and architecture. Examples of architecture include the Parthenon, an ancient Greek building, and the Pyramids of Giza. Examples of art include The Great Wave off Kanagawa by Katsushika Hokusai, The Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci, and Girl with a Pearl Earring by Johannes Vermeer. Connecting beauty with the golden ratio is a little bit more difficult, since people often say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But most people can agree that these works of art are pleasant to look at or aesthetically pleasing. This is because the architects or the artist use elements of the golden ratio. This leaves the question of whether or not the artist had the golden ratio in mind when creating their works. Did they specifically have the number of 1.618 in their mind when creating it? Or is it something that people today have noticed, hey, this fits the golden ratio, That's pretty cool, right? Quite frankly, it's not a question that I know the answer to, and I don't think a lot of people know the answer to that question as well. Maybe modern artists today create works with the golden ratio in mind, since we now know that that's a thing, but was it known when Da Vinci made it? Back on the topic of beauty, did you know that the human face has elements of the golden ratio in it? Not just the human face, but faces of other animals as well. You can find the golden ratio in the overall size of your head and just about any facial feature's relative distance from one to another. And because of this, most people tend to agree that more attractive faces have more symmetrical aspects into it. With all that being said, Fibonacci numbers and the golden ratio can be found almost anywhere if you really put your mind to it. And understanding Fibonacci numbers and the golden ratio allows for us to get closer to knowing what is good and what is beautiful. Thank you.